everybody. Welcome to Bound of Truth. This is your host, Christopher Lopez. Hope everybody's doing well on a Sunday evening. Tonight, it's going to be just me for a moment. Jonathan won't be here tonight. He had some family engagements to take care of, so we're going to do the recording on time tomorrow. Again, hope everybody's having a great weekend, watching some football playoffs, whatever that you're doing, blah, 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 blah. Anyways. So, again, really want to say thank you for everybody's support so far, the third episode. Really appreciate everybody's feedback and again, support. One thing I want to make sure to share, again, if you want to reach us with any experiences, paranormal, again, feedback, concerns, or just ideas for the show, boundtotruth34@gmail.com. Again, boundtotruth34@gmail.com. Or our Facebook page, Bound to Truth. Still working on other avenues to reach us at, but again, wanted to keep this simple and easy just to see how these progress so far. And so far, we're looking pretty good. Got a lot of great listeners out there so far on our podcast, and just really appreciate everybody just being involved and just being interested, and also feeling that they have a platform to use and talk with regarding what we're doing. So before I begin with some of the things I want to talk about tonight, I want to do a great shout out to Christina McMullen. I met with her last night at her place. Actually, a lot more closer than I thought it was, regarding her house being haunted. Had a great conversation, actually having a recording for about over an hour, and so I might do a recording to share that on the podcast, or I might just do more of a overview of notes and conversations, depending how well I can pull out the audio. I'm limited on material, how I record stuff, but I want to make sure it's going to do it justice for her story, and she's just been wonderful and awesome with the whole experience, and just talking with her, and just want to give a great shout out for the interview, and thank you, Christina McMullen, for inviting me to her home. And really wish nothing but blessings to you and your family, and it just wonderful to just get to know more of the community in my area and so forth, and also have common interests as well. I also wanted to apologize to, I think Tanya's her name. Forgive me if I forgot about, if I messed up your name or not. But we're supposed to do an interview today at 3 o'clock. I was trying to look at our notes for the phone number, and I should have written it down. You know, you can't go wrong with posting notes, no matter what, when it comes to with messaging and so forth, and I could not find it. Feel free to reach back to me via Facebook Messenger. Would still love to talk about your UAP experience. Again, I apologize for missing that great opportunity with you and so forth. So tonight, what I want to talk about is a little more deeper about me and my experiences, kind of give more insight about why I'm doing what I'm doing, and so forth, and I'm sure in the future Jonathan will go ahead and share his experiences, depending on how much he wants to share in his own comfort level. But kind of a little history with me a little bit. So, again, when I was talking in our first podcast, born in California, more specifically Tulare, California, to a very big Portuguese family. And but I'm half Hispanic, even though the Portuguese dean seems to be more the dominant figure and so forth, and kind of was like Jonathan was talking I before, raised in that cradle Catholic church. We were born Catholics and so forth, raised in Catholic school, and I really took that seriously as a kid. I really enjoyed a lot of its history, also its mystery. And personally, I think it was a great distraction to, I would say, to personal things that were going on in my life, in certain areas that I won't go into deep discussion, just because of respect to my family and so forth. But always been intrigued with the mysteries behind the spirituality, and something that we don't always see with our own eyes, but hopefully something we can feel with our own hearts, and just what's out there, and all the possibilities that God's created. So one of the things I was going to talk about, just kind of give you premises, is kind of some short experiences, my paranormal experiences that I've had. And then also tonight to really talk about the UAP hearings that happened last year, back in 2023, starting with David Grusch. And, for me, it's very well known. And to me, I'm very on top of what's going on. But I think there's a lot of people out there who don't know who David Grusch is and what the UAP hearings are about in Congress. And again, UAP, what that means is it's a new term that's supposed to, in a way, replace UFOs. UFOs. An unidentified flying objects. UAP is a term what it means, unidentified aerial phenomena. But I'll be glad to talk about that more and deeper for a bit. But to kind of share more of my history, I hope it puts more a little enlightenment to why I do what I do and why I started this podcast. And my huge interest is, I would say that my first major experience in the paranormal aspect when I was 19. And this is when I was playing my first band called Compulsive Image. And it was with my lead guitar player, freaking awesome guy. I miss the guy. Wish I could connect with him and find him again one day. And his girlfriend and I, we were at his house and decided to play with the Ouija board. And of course, at the time, I've always been open-minded, but at the same time, I'm kind of a button pusher, and I'll kind of share more of what that means. So one night we were playing with the Ouija board, and we were just asking some questions. I don't remember the specifics. And there were some minor things that were happening that was a little bit weird. But I kind of got fed up and got bored, and I just kind of stayed out in the comment like, hey, you know what? If you're real, do something. What are you going to do? Do something to me. I don't believe you're real. I think you're garbage. And at that moment, when we finished the session, my lead guitar player's girlfriend said there was a shadow figure, don't know the height or anything, standing in the back of the corner just looking at me and taking on my challenge. And I kind of just blew it off saying, okay, that's kind of garbage, right? I was like, yeah, this is just trying to spook me out, some 80s flicks horror movie kind of thing, whatever. So after I finished hanging out with them, I went later that evening into my car, started driving back home to my stepmom's house. And the first thing I got in my car is I kind of felt like there was something sitting in the back of the seat, right? But again, I'm thinking, hey, this is just all in my head. Just had this Ouija board experience. It's just all in my brain, whatever. Driving home, got back to the house. My stepsister was on the computer playing, I don't know if it was a game or whatever, so. And I went to bed, slept on the couch. And I can't remember what time later on, if it was an hour, 2, 3 hours later on, I woke up and I was paralyzed. I guess you can call sleep paralysis. My first experience of sleep paralysis. And it was weird because it couldn't feel like something was physically pushing me down, but it was more like a heavy vibration that was holding me down. And I was trying to say Jesus' name because I didn't know what the heck it was. I was thinking, okay, this is something demonic, I guess. I have no idea. I'm just kind of in a panic mode. And when I tried to, I couldn't speak. And finally, a few moments later, when I was able to break out of it, my stepmom runs out of the room, her bedroom, crying hysterically, going nuts. And I just asked her, I was like, whoa, what's going on? And she pretty much just said that she felt something like a head or some type of entity place itself on her lap. And she just ran out, freaking out. And of course, I told her what I did that night, and she gave me a good old-fashioned slap in the face. So I would say that's one of the things that got me interested down the road of the interest in the paranormal and so forth on top of that. And with the sleep paralysis parts, that didn't stop. I've had experiences of years of sleep paralysis, and I would say the most intense one, I would say, was over a decade ago, where I was sleeping one night, and had that same experience, and I was, my back was exposed, so I was sleeping on my stomach, and that scares me a lot because I can't see what's in front of me. I don't know what's going on. Somehow, I was able to get up, but yet I felt so heavy, like I just felt like 10 times my weight, and I was able to slowly walk and walk and walk, and I was trying to get, just to get my footing, and I put my fist on the wall just to keep myself up, and because it was just this heavy vibration, right? And then all of a sudden I saw this figure, like this gray entity figure, like you hear about the UFOs, like the gray aliens, right? This gray figure, but it was like a portrait that was just vibrating in front of my face, and I was able to finally wake up out of it and get my full senses. What does that mean, right? Is that demonic? Is that something psychological? Who knows? I would say that's probably my most intense, heavy moment that I've had with sleep paralysis. Now, have I had any sleep paralysis since all those years? I would say not. I haven't had it for maybe 5 to 6 years, and I'm actually grateful because I don't miss it. It's not a fun experience. There's things I've tried to read about it, studies-wise, what causes sleep paralysis, and you hear some theories about it. But it's not really truly defined what that is. It could be psychological, it could be spiritual, it could be both. I kind of tend to lean on more to the both. But again, I kind of want to share, that's again a little more piece of who I am and what keep me interested, just because of those are one of different experiences I've had in my history and why I'm interested in doing what I'm doing. And the other part of it, why I'm interested in doing what I'm doing, is because I'm bored. I like to go deep on things, no matter how crazy it is. That's just my personality, it's in my DNA. But I don't mind taking those risks as long as I just try to keep the foundation of God, Christ, knowing at the end of the day they have it in control. But at the same time, I like to discover all the possibilities and the mysteries that is provided to us. So, but anyways, so moving on from that, what I want to talk about a bit too, like I said earlier, is about the UAP briefings that happened last year, and wanted to start off with the big whistleblower, David Grusch. And those who don't know who David Grusch is, I'll give you a brief history of who he is a bit. So David Grusch, he was part of the United States Air Force. Officer. He's a former intelligence. He was also a personal briefing with the White House that reported to President Biden. So very interesting how this gentleman came out and called out what was going on in our government and what's happening in regards to UFOs and what he calls non-human intelligence beings. And the reason he says that is because he doesn't know what these beings are. Either they're alien, either they're extra-dimensional, or heck, maybe from here. We, again, no idea. And I respect that statement because we don't know. Some theories comes out. I kind of thought there's like, hey, is it the Nephilims that we talked about in the last episode, right? The evolving Nephilims and so forth, and and all that. But again, we have no idea. So he came out back in 2023. He did an interview with Ross Coulthart back in June of last year, and had an interview with News Nation in regards to his whistleblowing statements. And I really encourage people who haven't seen that or heard of David Grusch to really pull that interview out on YouTube. It's still out there. Very interesting testimony, very interesting claims, and what he's testifying to and so forth. And one of the things that he was testifying to, which was really interesting, is, regarding the history with us as the United States involving these crafts and beings, was back in 1993, where supposedly there was a craft that fell to Italy. Of course, that's during the World War II time and so forth. And what happened during that session was Mussolini and his team went out to Germany and the Nazis saying, hey, we have this craft that just pretty much landed, acorn shaped. We don't know what the heck it is. Is it one of yours? German said, no, it's not one of ours, but let's take a look at it. And of course, at that time, I'm not sure what happened between that time and so forth. But after World War II ended, it was given over to the Vatican, the Catholic Church. And the Pope at the time had a conversation with the president. I think it was Roosevelt, I believe. Excuse my history if I screw that up. And pretty much gave it to us as the United States. So that would say that was the first call out to technology that we recovered that we know of or that he can talk about. So there's rumors that there was things prior to that. But what's interesting is that, for me, I've always learned about the Roswell incident. That's when our quote, first craft that landed. But this is actually our first supposedly experience with the craft was back in 1933. And I guess maybe the first craft that landed in our backyard, 1947, Roswell, New Mexico. That's a whole nother conversation, another subject that could be a whole podcast at itself. But just again, writing down some brief history. So anyways, so during that time, he wanted to share the channels in the best way. It wasn't just a typical whistleblower who's just coming out and saying nonsense stuff. He wanted to do it through the right channels, through the DOPSR, DOD. He actually reached out to the Inspector General. And by the way, this is the same Inspector General who did investigations to Hillary Clinton regarding the emails that were leaked and so forth. So I found that quite interesting that he would have such a huge interest, and it was such a huge interest that his quote was that these accusations are concerning and I'm really paraphrasing it, concerning and urgent, and so that really brought a lot of attention to Congress. And so we actually had our first hearing with Congress back last year, of course, back in 2023, about a month and a half after, on July 27th, which David Grusch, Ryan Graves, who's a retired fighter pilot, and then also David Fravor, who also is another Navy commander and fighter pilot, who testified regarding their experiences to these, quote, UAPs. Now, before going more deeper about that, Ryan Graves is the one who has reported himself and other pilots during the Navy time, reporting the objects they've had experiences on a daily basis, which is really interesting. And of course, I'm sure everybody out there will be like, well, if that was happening, why aren't we hearing about that? Why are we hearing that on a daily basis? Well, I'm sure there's agendas for multiple reasons, right? David Fravor, a very famous one. That's the Tic Tac interview. Again, I would definitely encourage you to but look him up on YouTube regarding that video. He was pretty much the Tom Cruise, who he was a lead captain of the Black Aces. That was what do you call it? Pretty much was the Top Gun team that ran the jets and everything, and his experience with the Tic Tac incident back off of San Diego back in 2024. Really encourage everybody to look that up. That's some really, really huge, interesting stuff. But anywho, so there was a testimony that was done on July 2023, first time in history of an official oversight from the House Congress. I would say unofficially led by Tim Burchett, who has been a huge, huge advocate in Congress regarding this whole subject, and basically asking questions regarding what these objects were, where they come from, and who pilots them. And David Grusch was, I would say, the biggest lead because of what has been testimony to him from his investigation, as well as his firsthand experience. The only thing about that, if you do watch it, it's about 2 hours of this congressional hearing. But the things that I found interesting is that he would have to talk about it in a skiff because of clearance issues. He's wanting to do what's right by the American people of what's going on in our country and what we have, but at the same time to make sure he's not compromise government secrecy, which is also, I would say, understandable, especially when you don't want to give other adversary nations information that could be beneficial to them and hurt us. However, when he was asked about like pilots of these non-human intelligences, he was showing there was biological entities that were tied to this. Again, like I said before, what does that mean? Were they alien, dimensional beings, extra dimensional? Who knows? Were they, were they spiritual? We have no idea. Some theories come down that there's a spiritual aspect about him. Again, that's a whole another rabbit hole. That's quite interesting. But anywho, he gave his testimony and so forth, which was just first in history to finally see something that was taken serious, compared to all the years of skepticism and critical judgment of people who called conspiracy theorists are nuts. Not saying that they're not out there, but the phenomena is real, and I'm really glad this is taking more of a serious investigation lead into it, and so forth. And in addition to that, what was interesting too is Congress was asking about like the budgets with Pentagon and so forth, and of course our Pentagon hasn't passed an audit for the last 3 to 5 years, missing funds about 50% of its funding. So those are other questions that David Grusch was alluding to, that, hey, they're going to black budgets, right? Our taxpayer money, our taxpayer dollars going to these black budgets when this should be transparent to us, right? Like if you have a nonprofit locally, or if you're at a city council or any of that stuff, right? There's supposed to be municipal funds that are supposed to be transparent to where our money's going to. But again, here in this situation, we have no idea, and it's supposedly missing. So that kind of creates more speculation. And of course, the Congress people, before they came out and had this interview with David Grusch, they did some investigation of their own, trying to take what his claims were prior to the meeting to investigate themselves, and they were pretty much stonewalled into pretty much, you're not going to know anything, we're not going to tell you anything. Again, if there's nothing to hide, why stonewall it, right? Again, interesting stuff. Now, I know some people out there saying, well, maybe it is hidden technology that is, quote, maybe looking like it is extraterrestrial. Possibly. We don't know. But I would say the counter that argument is, for the testimony of these pilots, when you have objects that are moving in such great speeds without any type of, what you would say, acceleration, giving off any type of gas that seems more translucent, that is interesting and concerning. Is it ours? Is it something else? We have no idea. Is it technology we recovered that is giving, that we recovered back 80 years ago, that's giving to private companies like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing? We have no idea. Again, a whole nother episode on that one. So after the UAP hearing that happened back in July, it's led to a couple other SCIF meetings to get some more information. The first one after that was pretty much dead to the wall. It was pretty much what conspiracy call a nothing burger. It was empty. And then we had one recently, early in January, that moved the needle a little bit, and that was with the Inspector General that is representing Grusch. So that gave some slight of hope, basically confirming his accusations, but also led to more questions from the Congress people and concerns. Some of them came out pretty scared, like, okay, what is this? Okay, you're acknowledging this, but you ain't give us more information on what this is. And so now, in regards to this year in 2024, really hoping there's going to be more hearings. There's promises from Congress, like I said, Tim Burchett, that they're going to come out with more hearings in regards to this subject. We'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. 2024 is already becoming a typical interesting year. I know I brought up a little bit about in the first episode about, like, example, the Miami incident at the mall, regarding these beings that were these big-headed black-eyed entities, right? So we have no idea what's going on in that, but anyways, wanted to share that out to you. Again, this is kind of last minute recording. Wanted to talk about this because I wanted to keep this momentum going as much as possible with our podcast. Also, get the word out regarding the UAP in Congress and David Grusch. I really encourage people to look into that. There was so much information. There was so much other parts to it besides David Grusch with the people he's interviewed, and supposedly more whistleblowers are come out early this year, and so a lot of theories are like, well, why would the government hide this from us? Who knows? It could be because religious panic, fear, right? Is it going to destroy what we believe in? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it'll open a door to open more minds to have more questions. Maybe, I have no idea. It could be control of just the technology itself. We have no idea. It could be all of the above. But regardless how ridiculous it sounds, into the whole potential UFOs, aliens, and so forth, there's a big push and there's a lot more credence, I would say, especially now that Congress has acknowledged what's going on. The question is like, if it does come out that is more heavily acknowledged, how much of it is going to be shared in truth? Again, we can know the truth out there, but what's the narrative going to look like? So, anyways, very open to people who want to email me more information in regards to this subject as well. Again, it's a lot of stuff to cover on that. I know I say a lot in each podcast, but there's a lot to cover. But yeah, I'm hoping to see more positive in the future what this looks like and really to connect with a lot of people. Feel free to reach out to Jonathan and I, boundtotruth34@gmail.com, boundtotruth34@gmail.com, or through our Facebook. And yeah, Jonathan and I should be doing a recording tomorrow again to pick up what we talked about last podcast about time. That will be a fun one. I did some more research on that one, some pretty cool ideas and theories. But yeah, other than that, everybody, hope everybody's having a great evening again. And just really want everybody to stay safe, stay blessed, and see you back tomorrow. Have a great evening, and thank you for listening.